Come and learn Excel with me. Hey everybody, it's me, the Quinn, and I'm here with another video in the Excel series. This is video number 2, and in this video I'll be teaching you guys how to sort data and also some different formulas. But before we get into this video, please be sure to like the video so that others can see it, and be sure to share it with your friends as well. Come on, don't keep the knowledge and the information to yourself. And also check out the links in the description. I've added a new link down there to donate to the channel if you feel so inclined. So let's get right into it. Okay, before we get into the sorting and the formulas, I have two things that I need to go through with you guys first. The first thing, the keystrokes that I gave you in the last video, which included the Alt plus H. If you happen to can't remember those keystrokes, any keystrokes from here on out that we use that has an Alt plus H, you can always find by going to the Home tab in the menu. So if I should do Alt,
Ribbon tabs tab control expanded. Home tab selected Alt, H2 of 9.
And once you're selected on the Home tab, you can just use your tab to go through.
Home grouping, clipboard grouping, paste split button unavailable.
And after you tab to the option that you want, you can press enter on it and get along with what you're doing. Now on to the next thing. I'm currently in a sample workbook of what we were doing last week. I just want to show you something with this. I forgot to show you guys, you beginners with Excel, how you can delete things. First, deleting what's in a cell. Once you're selected on a cell, so let me up arrow right here.
Mark James A3.
You can just press your delete. Then if I should up arrow and down arrow back, you will hear
Name of student, A3.
You'll hear it's empty. So any information you want to delete in Excel, you can always select that information by using your selecting keys and delete it. But what if I want to delete an entire row? I can use my applications key or Shift plus F10 for those of you who don't have an applications key.
Cut remove the selection and put it on the clipboard.
Then down arrow to delete.
Copy, paste, smart, insert, delete.
And you can press enter.
Delete dialog delete. Shift cells up radio button checked Alt plus U.
And I would down arrow to entire row.
Entire row radio button checked Alt plus R.
Then press enter.
Final Excel exercise dash Excel. Sheet 1 table. Kelsey Stewart A3.
You realize that entire row has been deleted.
Name of student A2.
But what if I want to delete an entire column? Instead of using my applications key or my Shift plus F10 right here, I can also use the keystroke Control plus the dash. So that key that should be to the right of your 0, which is on your top line of numbers on the alphanumeric pad, I can just press that, Control plus dash.
Delete dialog delete. Shift cells up radio button checked Alt plus U.
And it automatically takes you in the delete dialog. And then I would down arrow to entire column.
Entire row radio button checked. Entire column radio button checked Alt plus C.
Then I would press enter.
Final Excel exercise dash Excel. Sheet 1 table. Semester 1 A2.
You realize that column is completely gone. Also, I forgot to mention that there's also a keystroke to insert cells in Excel. That would be the Control plus your plus sign, which is on the number pad, which is right above the enter key. So if I press that,
insert dialog insert. Shift cells down radio button checked Alt plus D.
And there you go. Now back to the original objective of this video. First, let's do some sorting. Okay, so as a teacher, of course, I want to sort my data by the names of the students. I want the names of my students to be in alphabetical order. So I have the little practice Excel exercise from last time open, and I'm gonna down arrow until I get to the first name in that column.
End of year results A. Name of student A2. Mark James A3.
Then I'm going to press my applications key or Shift plus F10 for those who don't have it.
Cut remove the selection.
Then I'm going to down arrow to sort.
Copy put a copy, paste, smart, translate, insert, delete, clear, quicken out, filter, sort collapsed O.
Then I'll press enter.
Sort A to Z lowest to highest.
And this is exactly what I want, but let me show you the other sorting options in this menu.
Sort Z to a highest to lowest. Put selected cell color on top C. Put selected font color on top F. Put selected formatting icon on top F. Custom sort. Sort A to Z lowest to highest. S.
Alright, so we're back to the top. So I'm going to click enter on this one.
Sheet 1 table. Alicia Fraser A3.
And you realize Mark James is moved down and Alicia Fraser comes right up to the top. Let me up arrow.
Name of student A2.
So you realize that it does not trouble the name of student. So that means any data you want to sort, go to the first item in that list that you want to sort, and then you use your applications key and then press sort. Now let's get into some formulas. Okay, so the first thing we want to calculate on this sheet is the student's final average. So let's go over to that column.
Semester 1 B2. Semester 2 final average D2.
By the way, one thing I must note when you sort, just like how you saw Mark James go down and Alicia Fraser was brought to the top, her grades will be brought with her as well. So you wouldn't have to go back and fix anything else. Automatically, everything that is in the row with that record will be moved with it as well. So let me go down to the first cell in this average column.
D3 Alicia Fraser.
Alright, so it's telling me that it's Alicia Fraser's row. That's why we love the row headers keystroke. Alright, so the F2 key that allows you to edit a cell will be your best friend when using formulas in Excel. Another thing before we get into formulas, I want to define something to you called an absolute cell reference. When doing some of your formulas in Excel, you might sometimes need to use something called an absolute cell reference. Actually, we'll get into that a little later on. First, let me explain how this works. In Excel, to do a formula, first go into the cell in which you want the formula to appear, then type equals because all Excel formulas begin with an equal sign. Then type a cell address, then a mathematical operation, and then another cell address. Then you can just click enter when you're finished. So say for instance, I wanted to add semester 1 column to semester 2 column, and semester 1 would be in cell C2, semester 2 would be in cell D2. I would write in the formula equals C2 capital C plus D2 capital D, and then I'll press enter and that value would be brought in. Let me do that as an example. Okay, I checked and the semester 1 is actually in column B and semester 2 is in column C, and we're currently in row 3 where Alicia Fraser is, so it would be B3 and C3. So I'm in Alicia Fraser's row. So let me type the formula equals,
edit equals,
then I would put
caps lock on, cap B 3 plus cap C 3,
then press enter.
D4 Bob Thomas.
And you realize it shifts me down into the next cell after I press enter, but if I go up back you will see
87 has formula D3 Alicia Fraser.
And let's look at the numbers and check that out for ourselves.
50 C3 semester 2, 37 B3 semester 1.
And 37 plus 50 is equal to 87.
87 has formula D3 final average.
Now that was just an example, so let me delete this. But there's also an easier way to do it instead of to be typing out all the different cells. Like say you want to add 3 different cells together, to be typing out the 3 different cells with the plus sign in between it. There are also formulas in Excel that contain a built-in function. So to do this, first you'll go into the cell in which you want the calculation to be done. Then you'll type your equal sign, then you'll type a function, for example, sum. By the way, all functions must be fully capitalized. Then everything that you will type from after the function, for example, sum, it must be in between 2 parentheses. So after you type your opening or left parenthesis, you will type your range of cells, then your right parenthesis. Then you would enter for the calculation to be done. We could have also done the same task by using this formula, equals sum B3 colon D3, because the colon between the cell references in Excel means it's selecting that range of data. So let's try that and see if we get the same result.
Edit equals,
and make sure to put sum in all caps.
cap S, cap U, cap M.
Then
Left paren, cap B 3 colon cap C 3, right paren.
Then press enter.
D4 Bob Thomas.
Then if I should go up back,
87 has formula D3 Alicia Fraser.
you realize it does the same thing. So let's delete that. I want to show you another way. There's also another way to do this. You can also use the auto sum keystroke, which is Alt plus H, then U, then S. What this keystroke does is once you're at the end of a row of values or even a column of values, it will auto sum those values. Once you're selected in the cell which comes after that row or column of values and you use this keystroke, it will auto sum those values. So let me use that keystroke. Alt plus H, then U, then S.
Ribbon. Sum. Excel Practice Exercise tab Control. Sheet 1 tab. Selected D3. Edit selected B3:C3.
Then press enter.
Sheet 1 table. D4 final average.
Then up arrow.
87 has formula D3 Alicia Fraser.
There you go. And you realize a while ago where I said to press enter, it gives you an option in which you can edit the range of values. And remember, I also told you that any keystroke that has in Alt plus H, you can always find it up in the menu ribbon under the Home tab. So if you go under Home, you can find the area in which you have auto sum as well as some other automatic formulas. Average. Alt plus H, then U, then A, averages. Or we could have just simply type in equals and in all caps, average, then left parenthesis, and then the cell reference of the first cell in that range. So in my case, that would be cell B3, and then colon, then C3, then right parenthesis. Alright, so I'm back in the cell that I want to do the final average under. So I'm going to use that keystroke that I just taught you. So Alt plus H, then U, then A.
Ribbon tabs tab. Sum. Excel Practice Exercise Excel. Excel Practice Exercise tab Control. Sheet 1 tab. Selected D3. Edit selected B3:C3.
Then press enter.
Sheet 1 table. D4 final average.
Then if I up arrow,
43.5 has formula D3 Alicia Fraser.
and there we go. But let me show you some other auto formulas before I show you how you can fill this entire average column down without having to be going into each one of the cells and typing in this formula again. Let me go down to the last cell.
E13 status.
Then let me left arrow over to the semester 2 column.
D13 final average. C13 semester 2.
Then up arrow.
63 C12 Rosie Taylor.
Alright, so let me go to the cell under the last number that is edited in this column.
C13.
Count. Alright, so I'm in an empty cell and I have a column of numbers on top of this. Now what I'm going to show you is the count formula. You can use this formula to count numbers. So if I should use the keystroke, Alt plus H, then U, then C.
Ribbon. Excel Practice Exercise Excel. Excel Practice Exercise tab Control. Sheet 1 tab. Selected C13. Edit selected C3:C12.
Then you can always edit your range right where it has edit selected, and then I can press enter.
Sheet 1 table. C14 semester 2.
Then if I up arrow,
10 has formula C13.
so it counts it and it tells me that there are actually 10 records. Remember in the first video I told you that there were 10 students in this record. So let me delete this because I don't want this on my sheet. And I want to let you know that count is only to count numerical values. Instead of using that auto count keystroke, all you could have used is equal, and remember your all caps, count, so COUNT, then left parenthesis, the first cell reference, colon, the last cell reference, then right parenthesis. Count A. If you want to count alphanumerical data on the other hand, you would have to use counter. So that would be equals, and remember your full caps, COUNT A, then left parenthesis, the first cell reference, colon, the last cell reference, then right parenthesis. And you would use that, for instance, if I wanted to count it by the name of the students. Maximum. Now, to auto calculate the maximum, you would use the keystroke Alt plus H, then U, then M. This keystroke will calculate the maximum value in that list of values that you have. Say for instance, I'm still in cell C13, which is that empty cell under this list of numbers in semester 2. So let me do that keystroke. Alt plus H, then U, then M.
Ribbon. Excel Practice Exercise tab Control. Sheet 1 tab. Selected C13. Edit selected C3:C12.
Then press enter.
Sheet 1 table. C14 semester 2.
Then up arrow.
96 has formula C13.
So what this does is give me the maximum value that's in this list of numbers. Let me delete this. And let me up arrow through this column to show you that there's actually a 96 up there and it's the biggest number.
63, 76, 66, 88, 70, 94, 70, 81, 96 C, 50 C, semester 2 C2.
And there we go. Similarly, just like the other formulas, to do the maximum formula, it will be equal, full caps, MAX, then left parenthesis, the first cell reference, colon, the last cell reference, then right parenthesis. Minimum. Now, the keystroke to do an auto minimum is Alt plus H, then U, then I. And this will give you the minimum value of the list of the range that you have selected. So it's opposite to the maximum formula. And if you wanted to type it in manually, it will be equals, full caps, MIN, then left parenthesis, the first cell reference, colon, the last cell reference, then right parenthesis. Now, so those are all the keystrokes for all the auto formulas that we have. But let me show you how we can fill this average that we have up here.
Final average D2. 43.5 has formula D3 Alicia Fraser.
Okay, so we calculated Alicia Fraser's average, but remember we want to calculate the average of the other students as well. How do we do that without having to be going into each cell and putting in the formula again? Well, there is a quick way to do it. First, I want you to go into the cell that has the formula in it. Then select starting from that cell down to the last cell in that column which has a student record in it. So remember, I have 10 names in here, and in row 1 I have my table name, our table header, and in row 2 I have my column headers. So therefore there will be 12 rows with data. So that means that I know that D12 is where I have my last record in it. So now you can use your shift plus down arrow keystroke to select until you reach to that last row with a record in it. In my case, that is cell D12.
D3 43.5 through D8, D3 43.5 through D10, D3 43.5 through D12, selected row 3 through 12 column 4.
Then this is the keystroke that you can use. Control plus D. What this keystroke does in Microsoft Excel, it copies whatever you have in the cell above in the cell that you're currently selected on. So if I should do that keystroke, Control plus D, then use my up arrow.
Final average D2.
Now let's go down.
43.5 has formula D3 Alicia Fraser.
Down arrow again.
94.5 has formula D4 Bob Thomas.
And there you go. It puts it in. Let's down arrow some more.
83.5 has formula D5 Brianna Headley. 66 has formula D6 Emily Armstrong.
And there we go. And if I should do F2 in this cell where I copied down the formula, you would see
Edit equals average left paren, B6:C6 right paren.
There we go. So it automatically does that. So let me escape out of here.
66 has formula D.
And let me note this to you. What if instead of filling down the formula in a column, you wanted to fill it in a row? You would select first the cell which already had that formula in it, and then you would use your shift plus your right arrow to select the cells that are beside it that you want to fill that formula in. And then you would use your keystroke Control plus R, which fills anything that you have in the cell to the left into the cells to the right of it. Or if you won't remember these keystrokes, you can also use Alt plus H, then F, then I. or you can just go up into the menu on the home tab and search for fill once you have the cell with the formula and the other cells that you want to copy the formula in selected. Also, some other keystrokes that are good to know. I quickly switch over to another Excel document where I have a cell with a formula in it that has a lot of decimal points in it.
63.636 has formula B15 last line name.
Okay, so two awesome keystrokes. One selected on the cell if I want to decrease the amount of decimal points, because what if I don't want a lot of numbers behind the decimal point? A quick keystroke to do so to decrease the number of decimal points is Alt plus H then 9. So let's hear the number that's in here first.
63.636 has formula B15 last line name.
So it ends with 6. So let me do that keystroke. Alt plus H then 9.
Ribbon tabs tab control expanded. Home 9. Sheet 1 table. 63.64 has formula B15.
You realize it cuts it down to 63.64. And on the other hand, if I wanted to increase the number of decimal places, I could have used the keystroke Alt plus H then 0. So let's do that.
Ribbon tabs tab 0. Sheet 1 table. 63.636 has formula B15.
And you see, it's back to its original place. Now I'm going to close this Excel sheet and get back to the one that we were on. Okay, I remember I was talking to you guys before about an absolute reference. So an absolute reference now is when you're making a formula and you want to tell Excel or tell the formula that you don't want the value in that cell to be changed. You will make it in what we call an absolute reference, an absolute cell reference. Say for instance, I had a list of a name of students and I have a list of their scores. So say the total marks is 20. I have a list of how much they got out of 20. So a person would have 9, a person would have 4, a person would have 6, whatsoever. Then I would have a separate table, like a table down at the bottom by itself, where I have a cell that says total amount of marks and probably the value beside it that says 20. Now, if I should have a column beside those list of numbers where I want to put what the percentage of those students was, I would want to create a formula in which it would be the cell with their grade in it divided by the cell with the total marks times 100. In that case, I would have to make the cell with the 20 in it, which is the total marks, an absolute cell reference, because I don't want that cell to be changed. I want it to always be divided by 20. So if I should autofill that formula, that cell reference would not be changed in the rest of formulas that will be filled down below it. It will always be divided by that 20. So that is how you use absolute cell referencing. And let me show you how that is done. So let me get into a cell that has the formula in it.
91.5 has formula D9 John Thompson.
Okay, let me just do F2 here.
Edit equals average left paren, B9.
Then press home.
Equals.
Alright, so let me go through this formula with you.
Cap A, Cap B, Cap E, Cap A, Cap G, Cap E, left paren, Cap B, 9. Colon.
So when you're typing in a formula, say for instance I wanted cell B9 to be the cell with the absolute cell reference. So that value wouldn't change if I should autofill the formula. Once you type in your cell reference and your cursor is behind the cell reference that you just typed, you can just use the keystroke F4 and it will automatically make it an absolute cell reference. So let me press F4.
$B $9 selected.
You realize it puts in dollar signs in it. So the F4 is the easy way to do it. But if you wanted to manually, again, which is the longer way, to make it an absolute cell reference yourself, you can just put in a dollar sign before the column and a dollar sign before the name of the row. And I can just escape out of that.
91.5 has formula D9.
Now let's get to the next formula. Remember I had a column called status where I said I wanted to determine if the student passed or if they failed. So let me go over to that column.
E9 status, E8, E7, E6, E5, E4 Bob Thomas, E3 Alicia, status E2.
Alright, let me go down to the first cell in this column.
E3 Alicia Fraser.
Okay, so in order to do that, I would have to use what is called an if function. Now, an if function is one that calculates something based on a condition. So say for instance, my pass mark is 70. Using the if function, what I would have to do in the formula is to tell Excel that if the cell that has in the final average is greater than or equal to 70, the student will pass. Else, they will fail. So let me show you how this formula is set up now. So remember, I'm in the first cell in the column status under the column header status. So let me start typing equals.
Edit equals.
Then caps lock.
Caps lock on.
If.
Cap I. Cap F.
Then left parenthesis.
Left paren.
So remember, the cell that had in Alicia's final average is a cell D3. And I'm currently in cell E3, which has in the status. So I'll put here D3.
Cap D. 3.
Then I would put my greater than sign.
Greater.
And for those who don't remember where your greater than sign is, it would be the same as shift plus full stop. Then I would put equals.
Equals.
Then 70.
7. 0.
After you're finished putting the condition, which is if D3 is greater than or equal to 70, then you would have to put a comma.
Comma.
Then I would have to put what I want the formula to put in the cell if that condition is true. So if that condition is true, if the student's pass mark is equal to or greater than 70, greater than or equal to 70, I want them to put pass inside the cell. So first I would have to put quotes. So that's shift plus the apostrophe.
Quote.
Then I would type in pass.
Cap P. Caps lock off. A. S. S.
Then close the quotes.
Quote.
Then comma.
Comma.
Now right here we will put in what you want to be placed into the cell if the condition is false. So I'll put quotes.
Quote.
Then I'll put fail.
Caps lock on. Cap F. Caps lock A. I. L.
Then end the quotes.
Quote.
And then I'll put a right parenthesis.
Right paren.
Then press enter.
E4 Bob Thomas.
Now let me up arrow.
Fail has formula E3 Alicia Fraser.
And she failed because she got, if I should left arrow,
43.5 has formula D3 final average.
Alright, so let me go back over here.
Fail has formula E3 status.
Now, remember I want to fill this formula down to the rest of the rows. So, I would use my shift plus down arrow till I get down to cell E12.
E3 fail through E11. So E3 fail through E12. Selected row 3 through 12 column 5.
Then I'll do my control plus D. Then, down arrow and see what's there.
Pass has formula E4 Bob Thomas.
Bob Thomas passed. Let me left arrow and see what his grade was.
94.5 has formula D4 final average.
There we go. So remember, the format for the if function is if, then left parenthesis, then you put in that mathematical statement, and then comma, and then in between quotes, you will put what Excel should put in that cell if the statement is true, then comma again, then you put in quotes after that what Excel should put if the statement is false. Then always close it with your right parenthesis. Note that it is better to know your different formulas to enter them manually, but there's also a way in which you can access a list of the different formulas for what you need to do, which I will show you in the next video after this one. But what I really recommend is to first know what is the task that you want to complete, and then you set it up in a mathematical formula. Well, that is it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video, and stay tuned for the next video in which I'll be showing you yet another way that you can insert Excel functions onto your sheets if you don't know the function. So there will be a list that you can go through, and I'll also be teaching you the different keystrokes to do with the sheet itself and how to do formulas from one sheet to another. So stay tuned for that, and be sure to like the video, subscribe if you're new, and turn on that notification bell to be alerted when I'll post the next video in this series. Also remember that there's a new link down in the description to donate to the channel if you feel so inclined. But share the video, like it up, and comment down below to let me know what you think about this video, and I'll see you next time.